Super Mario Odyssey is the best game since Super Mario Galaxy. Every aspect of this game, from the world design, the controls, the music, the damn box art, weaves together to create one of the most concrete and complete games in a franchise packed full of them. It embodies the core creative philosophies of Nintendo, and captures the whimsical wonder and awe that more recent Mario games have arguably been missing. This game, alongside Zelda Breath of the Wild, kickstarted Nintendo's recent revitalization after an unsteady period and reassured the world that Mario is still without a doubt number one. In this analysis, I'll be breaking down the central factors in the game to settle once and for all if Super Mario Odyssey truly deserves its spot alongside the big boys. And there's no better place to start than with So, most Mario games have some sort of theme or motif. Sunshine was a tropical vacation, the Galaxy games were an epic space voyage, and Odyssey's is Royal Wedding 2011, which ties into the larger theme of adventure. Okay, so hear me out. Practically every Mario platformer is some sort of quest, but they haven't really felt like a true adventure since Galaxy. They're all very structured, very planned. You traverse an overworld map containing smaller levels on them. The overarching worlds have specific themes such as grass and desert, but a lot of the individual levels blend together and lack distinction. Now, this is mainly the case for 2D Mario games, but even some of the more recent 3D games follow the structure of having a bunch of short, focused levels instead of having smaller amounts of more Mario 64 inspired levels. This isn't to discredit those games, as they're built around this structure and have their own unique qualities, but over the years it seems the fans were generally craving the more explorative sandbox levels from the N64 era. And well, Odyssey is just that. Each level is brimming with atmosphere and character that few other platformers can claim to have. The balance between creating tangible, creative worlds while also making them a smorgasbord of platforming challenges is truly masterful. Never did I ever think that I would be praising a Mario game on its world building. Not level design, world building. The world map of each level displays the usual checkpoints and icons, but also serves as a brochure, which is just brilliant. It's written like a legit tourist guide with info about the locals, the industry, the temperature, and the currency. This may just seem like a charming little novelty, but the info here is actually relevant and applicable to the gameplay. Take, for example, Tostarena, or the Sand Kingdom. The brochure tells us that the currency is pyramid-shaped. The currency they refer to here is actually a completely distinct set of collectibles, the purple coins. These coins are scattered throughout each level and act separately from regular coins, as they allow you to purchase kingdom-specific costumes and merch. While all these coins in the games are coloured purple, they have distinct shapes, so in this kingdom we know to look out for triangular-shaped purple coins. The brochure goes on to mention the industry here revolves around tourism and precious stones. As a desert level, these types of industries seem a bit out of place. Think back to desert levels in previous Mario games. Most of them are barren wastelands, and Odyssey kinda carries that trend, but takes liberties to make the kingdom all the more interesting. Before even diving into the level, we can assume there's some sort of town and ruins as the brochure informs us. Already, this is instantly more intriguing than most sand levels. It goes on to detail the importance of the ruins, the transportation methods, the hidden oasis, the iconography carved into the structures, the locals, and the small town that does indeed serve as a tourist hub. All this information and more is packed into the brochure, and each one of them is like this for every kingdom. They are such seemingly minor additions, but add so much to the sense of culture and atmosphere, while also providing tips and secrets about the level design. Whether it's the busy streets of New Donk City or the fashion hub that is Lake Lamode, each world has a distinct vibe. But let's stick with Tostarena for a bit longer. Okay, upon entering the kingdom, something seems a bit off. Let's pause here for a moment. First of all, look at that colour design. A beautiful stark contrast between the sky and the sand. Yeah, side note here, the colour design is another great aspect of the game. Notice how all the moons in a given kingdom are coloured specifically so they stand out and don't blend into the natural environment. On top of this, making the purple coins purple helps to highlight them, as most of the levels don't incorporate heavy tones of purple. Great details. Anyway, back to Tostarena. The level starts you out a bit away from the town. This is intentional as the trek towards it draws your attention to these large chunks of ice sticking out of the ground, and upon talking to the citizens and inspecting the town, it's clear that the ice here is very out of the ordinary. This is accentuated through gameplay, as a handful of purple coins, which you most likely have collected a few at this point in the level, are locked behind the frozen fountain. So after checking out the town, you'll most likely venture into the desert, hoping to find some reason for this ice. After scaling the tower and collecting some moons, your attention will be drawn to the enormous inverted pyramid nestled tightly in a sand pit. The lower section of this pyramid is covered in ice shards, similar to those in town. Also, there seems to be some sort of ice structure containing a multi-moon, which, just like the pyramid, is sunken into the sand. So, you enter the pyramid, reach the top and take down a boss, which lets the pyramid float high in the sky again, granting access to the sand pit. However, once the pit is exposed, the weather gets even colder and the sky gets even gloomier. Once again, great colour design. Skeletons start popping up and it's clearly growing worse. And upon diving into the sand pit below the pyramid, well, that makes sense. So you continue down the ice dungeon and come across some sort of empty pedestal and a random head hanging from the ceiling, only for it to attack you, revealing itself to be Nucleotech, the guardian deity, and the ice structure from up above. And finally, after beating him, the ice disappears from the kingdom, restoring the town to its former glory and granting you access to those oh so lovely purple coins, and even a power moon. You see how this world has its own little story to it? It explores the history and geography of the kingdom, while subtly providing hints and secrets about the level. There's this one area with quicksand near some ruins. Now, as experienced gamers, we expect the quicksand is a death trap that should be avoided at all costs. But with the newly acquired knowledge of the underground ice dungeon, we can experiment with some dangerous looking sinkholes, and wouldn't you know, there's a secret area down here. It should also be noted that you can definitely find this area prior to finding the main ice dungeon, in which case it becomes a cool little moment of foreshadowing. Pun entirely intended. The story of the kingdom ties together nicely, and even links into the overarching wedding plot, as it was Bowser who stole the ring and angered Nucleotech, setting off the events of the level, and each kingdom holds some sort of purpose to the wedding, whether it's the Lake Kingdom's wedding dress or the Food Kingdom's cake. You see how the little details of the story give a purpose to each level and make progression in this game more proactive rather than just following the usual level-to-level formality of previous Mario games? The whole wedding motif may seem a bit silly, but it's ultimately paid off in the end and ties into the post-game events. Not to mention, it just raises the stakes of the whole Bowser kidnaps Peach fiasco that Nintendo have been feeding us for the last 30 years. And that's without even commenting on the actual level design itself. Odyssey mainly returns to the collectathon style of the N64 era, while also paying tribute to the Galaxy and 3D Land games with micro-challenges that test your platforming proficiency. Kingdoms in Odyssey are sprawling sandbox sprinkled with collectibles, enemies and secrets. Every nook and cranny has a reason and purpose. Moons are strategically placed so that you usually have more than one way to obtain them. Take for example, this early moon in the Cascade Kingdom, obtained after a boss fight. The moon is designed to be the finale of the kingdom, and normally you would have to trek around the entire level to get up to it. But if you're a cool guy, like me, you can capture a dinosaur, find a trampoline, launch yourself into the sky, and give him one of these, and boom, you've made it. The previously mentioned purple coins act more as a supplementary goal that are usually a bit more out of the way than the moons. While moons are often located behind tasks or challenges that are fairly easy to locate, purple coins turn the game into a true scavenger hunt, and some of their placements are just genius. Others are just cruel. They are completely optional though, but I'd say it's well worth hunting them down. They can be exchanged for costumes and memorabilia in your spaceship, both of which are tailored to a specific area, once again tying into the theme of adventure. One of the more fascinating aspects of the game though, is how they handle regular golden coins. Coins are an interesting entity in the Marioverse. The primary purpose of coins in previous 3D games was health recovery, 1-ups and 100 coin missions. Apart from that, coins usually serve as a small, almost insignificant reward, but never have I seen a better implementation of the humble coin than in Mario Odyssey. Yes, even you. Firstly, they act as a breadcrumb trail, complementing the level terrain while carefully guiding Mario along the early sections of a level before highlighting places of interest. Secondly, they act as a currency similar to their purple cousins, except there's a bunch of miscellaneous costumes you can buy with them, and even a couple of moons to boost up your collection. This alone sends their value through the roof. Thirdly, while they don't restore your hit points, they do act as an extra life. Kind of. Odyssey ditches the standard 1-up life system. Instead, when you lose a life, the game subtracts 10 coins from you and drops you back to the last checkpoint. This is way more convenient. While Mario games have never been too challenging, I'm a firm believer that the old system was a relic of the arcade games, and I'm glad to see a more modern approach. Lastly, coins serve their purposes as small rewards, but in an infinitely more rewarding way. Like here, this area contains a fairly straightforward platforming challenge, but if you have the curiosity and the skill to maneuver up this wall, you'll be rewarded by a set of invisible coins. The reward here isn't really the coins, but the discovery that yes, the developers did intend for you to get up there somehow. In most cases, the rewarding of curiosity may not warrant a moon or purple coin, as some of them are fairly obscure, but it's the simple acknowledgement of the player's sense of exploration that's the real reward here. But in order to find these secrets, you're going to need the skills. Controls are the backbone of any good platformer, and since day one, Mario has always had super tight controls. And I'd argue that Odyssey has the best iteration of Mario in a while. All the jumps are here: the double jump, the triple jump, the long jump, the side jump, the regular jump, the shonen jump, the wall jump, the backflip, the ground pound, and the dive. But there's two additional moves that significantly impact the flow of the game: rolling and cappy. Now, rolling has been in previous Mario games, but acted more as a dodge roll, whereas in this game it's more reminiscent of a certain blue hedgehog. And just like that blue hedgehog, Mario's roll is affected by slopes and terrains. Additionally, you can chain rolls together, jump out of a roll, and use a ground pound to get an instant burst of speed. It may seem like a relatively simple move, but it ultimately changes the flow of the game. Like, in most Mario games, slopes mainly act as pathways to different depths of levels, but they may as well just be ladders or pipes. They don't really affect your overall momentum. But let's look at our pal Sonic, for example. You see how every slope, every incline, every loop plays into maintaining your overall speed? They complement your momentum, and most importantly, it's just really fun to go fast. And this is what makes Odyssey's terrain super fun to traverse over. Not to mention, it just lets more advanced players get a move on, and if you've seen speedruns of the game, you know how vital the roll is. Overall, Odyssey just feels faster, probably because of the additions of Rocket Flowers, the Jaxies and the Scooter, but definitely because of the rolling. But unlike Sonic, Mario has always had a greater focus on platforming than speed, and that's where Cappy comes into play. So just like Flood on the Baby Luma, Cappy is a multifunctional partner. He serves as a standard attack and a method of capturing enemies, but most notably, Mario can jump on Cappy. This changes everything. It essentially gives you an extra mid-air jump, and you can chain it with all those other jumps I named previously for some truly insane moving options. And that's the key word here: options. Odyssey lets you play the game the way you want to play. Remember the cascade mood I talked about earlier? Well, so many moons are like this. You can use a power-up, you can use a jump combo, you can enter a door, say fuck this, leap up, get rewarded for your creativity, find the moon at the end, and call it a day. It's all these little decisions working together that makes the options so exciting. Moreover, by the time you get to the endgame challenges, the game has trained you to recognize these options and adapt suitably. This not only incentivizes multiple playthroughs, but also speedruns, as the way you approach the game in the beginning will be way different than the way you approach it in the end. It's the classic Nintendo philosophy of introducing mechanics, letting them develop, twisting them around in some way, before ultimately paying them off in the end. But if jumping on Cappy was his only function, he wouldn't be the multi-purpose partner we know he is. So Odyssey handles power-ups in a pretty unique way. Instead of finding them in an item block, most of them come in the form of enemies or objects scattered throughout the level. A grand total of 52, which can easily be captured using our partner Cappy. You can capture a Goomba, you can capture a Chain Chomp, you can capture Bullet Bill, you can capture a Pokemon, you can capture the game itself, you can capture the hearts of gamers across the globe, you know, the usual stuff. Now, some of these captures can be a bit situational. Kinda situational. Okay, very situational, but a bunch of them have a diverse moveset which are complemented by the level design. Once again, this ties into the whole options thing, but I think the greatest feat of the power-ups is the diversity. Glydon, the flight power-up, can be used to survey the land below. Fire Bros are the replacement for the Fire Flower and have a massive jump that you can use to your advantage. The Lactu turns the game into a fishing simulator. The Snowball Guy turns the game into a racing game. Heck, the Tank turns the game into a gritty shooter with gyro aiming. A bunch of these mechanics are so versatile that they could be their own game. Take the Pokio for example. The main function of this guy is to stick out his beak, which can be used to collect coins, scale certain walls, and even as a handy spin attack. There's also these little holes hidden in places that can give you some bonus rewards and stuff. Pretty cool. And the level is designed around these mechanics. Take this segment here, where you would usually have to jump over these gaps, fight this enemy and scale this wall. But if you've experimented with the moves, you'll know that you can lock onto item blocks, and then by using your height and spin jump, you can take a shortcut to shave a few seconds off your run. Other power-ups are just fun to move around with, like the Gushions from the Beach Kingdom, which are kind of reminiscent of Flood. It's great to test the capabilities and limits of each power, which adds a great deal of diversity to progression. So Mario Odyssey is truly a game for the ages. The worlds, the controls, the power-ups, the options, the versatility, the adventure. It's truly a miracle video game and rightfully deserves its position up there with the big boys. But there's so much more to this game. A bunch of smaller ideas that don't tie directly into gameplay, but add so much charm and character. The classic Nintendo technique of what I like to call
oh, come on.
Man, there's so many tiny details here that I'm just going to ramble off a couple of the best ones. I already mentioned the brochures and the costumes earlier, which, by the way, reference a bunch of various Mario media. Really obscure media, by the way. There's these 8-bit characters hidden around the place, and there's all these fossilized enemies probably back from the NES days. There's even this part where you go into a cinema and start playing the original Super Mario Bros. There's a list of achievements that track all your records. You can use amiibos, Luigi's Balloon Tour is a good time, co-op is a thing. HD Rumble is really cool, like on the scooter, the Joy-Cons rev up like a handlebar. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending and the post-game are insane, and some of the power-ups in the last kingdoms were great to use. Heck, there's even a VR mode. What is this? And the music. By no means a small thing, but there's a bunch of references to past games sprinkled throughout the soundtrack, specifically a certain motif in the final section of the game that was just masterful. But you can unlock this music player that lets you play specific tunes in different levels, which is a nice addition. Not to mention the highlight of the game, the festival in New Donk City. Oh man, it's a celebration of Mario, it's a celebration of Nintendo, it's a celebration of gaming as a whole. Truly a masterpiece. Games like Super Mario Odyssey are a result of dedication, creativity, and passion for video games. It may not be a perfect game, but it comes damn close, and will undoubtedly go down as an inspiration for future game developers and an exceptional accomplishment for years to come.
Spin the wheel, take a chance. Every journey starts a new romance. A new world's called.